from different parts of the world, we have differences and similarities, but the most prevalent similarity that we have is that all our countries suffer, or people in our countries suffer with poverty. But to understand what the problem really is, we need to understand what poverty is. So, there.
Okay, what is poverty? Poverty is the state or condition of having little or no money, goods, or means of support. In other words, it's just a condition of being poor. People living in poverty don't have the resources to support their basic needs, such as shelter, food, clean water, and clothing.
Okay.
There are 7 different types of poverty: economic poverty, bodily poverty, mental poverty, cultural poverty, spiritual poverty, political poverty, and societal poverty. So, economic poverty is the lack of monetary demands for providing themselves with food, clothes, and shelter. So, money is needed. Money is needed for the things that I just mentioned earlier. Bodily poverty is the lack of property, physical health, and access to good living conditions. Mental poverty is the lack of thinking, which is the result of lack of education and knowledge. Cultural poverty is the lack of coming together in a society. So, if there are no collaborative activities taking place, there's going to be problems with the people. Spiritual poverty. That's probably the first time you've heard of that, but spiritual poverty is the lack of feeling of togetherness and brotherhood, and that togetherness and brotherhood plays an important role in bringing people together. Political poverty is the lack of understanding how the system works, which is like how to vote for somebody as your new leader when it's elections. And the last kind of poverty, societal poverty, is the lack of understanding how the system works too. So essentially, political and societal poverty is like the same thing.
Yeah. So Becker just talked to us about what poverty is, the different types of poverty. So poverty really, apart from it not being able to afford your basic needs, such as clothing, food, and shelter, it can also be lacking certain things that is valuable for a person to be successful in whatever they do. These are a few pictures of poverty. Okay, and then Jordan will talk to us about world hunger and how poverty affects the way people live.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about the hunger aspect of poverty. When you guys think that you're hungry, like, oh, I need something to eat, I'm hungry now. Right now, that's what most of us think. But hunger has like 3 defined terms. The first one is the uneasy or painful sensation caused by want of food, craving, appetite, also the exhausted condition caused by want of food. The next one is the want or scarcity of food in a country. And the next one is a strong desire or craving. So I mean, to me, the first definition is a pretty it stands out the most. It says like the uneasy or painful sensation. Like most of us, when we're hungry, we don't really think about that. Like we just think, oh, I want to go to McDonald's or something and get food. But there are people who are dying because of hunger. And world hunger refers to the second definition, the want or scarcity of food in a country. Many countries are they don't have enough malnutrition, which is a general term that indicates a lack of some or all nutritional elements necessary for human health. They don't have the right foods in their country to provide to the people, and that's what's causing them to die and get diseases. Next slide. So in 2010, there are 925 million people who are hungry, and it shows that most of them, which if you can see the red, it's Asian Asia and the Pacific, which is 578 million. Then you have Africa, which is next, which is 239 million. Latin America and the Caribbean, which is 53 million. Near East and North Africa, which is 37 million. And developed countries, which is 19 million. And basically, I'm sure everyone in this room in our group, somewhere in their countries is in there, and everyone's suffering from hunger. The next one shows that the rates are increasing. So you can see that from 1969 to 71, there was about 900 million, but all the way to 2009, it increased a lot. But to 2010, it's increased dramatically, and that's not good. So that shows that we're not helping people out. We're not helping countries out. That more people are getting hungry and starving. So, some quick facts. I'm going to tell you a couple causes of hunger. One cause is the cause of poverty include poor people's lack of resources and extremely unequal income distribution in the world within specific countries, conflict, and hunger itself. So because people can't make a good income, they're not able to buy food, so that's one reason they're hungry. Another one is harmful economic systems are the principal cause of poverty and hunger. So that's basically the same thing. If the economy is not good, people aren't making money, they can't buy food. Conflict as a cause of hunger and poverty. At the end of 2005, the global number of the refugees was at its lowest level in almost a quarter of a century. Despite some large-scale reparation movements, the last 3 years have witnessed a significant increase in refugee numbers due to primarily to violence taking place in Iraq and Somalia. So it's showing how that the hunger it's still increasing in other places and it's not getting better. Next slide, please. And lastly, hunger is also a cause of poverty and thus of hunger. By causing poor health, low levels of energy, and even mental impairment, hunger can lead to even greater poverty by reducing people's ability to work and learn, thus leading to even greater hunger. Another example is climate change. Climate change is increasingly viewed as a current and future cause of hunger and poverty. Increasing drought, flooding, and changing climate patterns requiring a shift in crops and farming practices that may not be easily accomplished are three key issues. So besides, when people think of hunger, they think that you don't have enough money, so you can't buy food, but also it could be due to the environment you're in. If you're in an environment and it's too hot or it's raining too much and you're not able to grow your food, you're not going to be able to eat. And here are some pictures that I got from a couple websites that show different people around the world who are suffering from hunger and starvation.
Okay, now I'm gonna hand over to Rodrigo. Jordan explained how how poverty affects how people live, the conditions they live in. For example, like hunger, but poverty doesn't just come on its own. And then Rodrigo will explain how poverty occurs and arises.
Okay, so poverty is more than absence of income or food. It is the presence of powerlessness, voicelessness, and lack of freedom. Okay, so poverty. Manipulating. Why does poverty exist? The root of modern poverty lies in the consumer culture, as stemming from a materialist worldview. In particular, it stems from the fact that one's own spending power is relative to the spending power of others. Manipulating. Because of this fact, those with wealth can manipulate all the other factors, not only ensure their continued dominance, but also to cause poverty, which is an advantage because it lowers the cost of labor. Are solutions to poverty possible? The solution to poverty is to create a new society where status correlates with contributions to the society and not with personal accumulations of wealth. Such a society may not eliminate poverty entirely. Once, however, the artificially inflated pockets of extreme wealth begin to disappear, the vast oceans of artificially exaggerated poverty should likewise vanish. Poverty. In modern American society, wealth, power, education, status, and political control have all been united into one single package. It is increasingly true that you have one if and only if you have all the others.
Poverty. How widespread is it? Poverty around the world. Every country in the world aims to eradicate poverty, but this is a very difficult task. Though every country has its own percentage of poverty, the numbers vary from country to country. Every year, a census is taken in most countries to measure the poverty. Each has something called the poverty line, which is the minimum level of income deemed necessary to achieve an adequate standard of living in a given country. This is a map that shows what percent of each country lives under $1.25 per day, which is very, very little. As you can see, most countries in North America, well, all the countries in North America, it's under 2%, so they have pretty good standards of living. What is Latin America, Central America and Upper Southern America, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and lots of countries in Africa do live under $1.25 per day. So this means that these countries have much lower standards of living. Poverty varies from region to region, as well as by country. It is less prominent in areas like North America, Europe, and Northern Asia. Central and South America have mostly larger percentages of poverty, as do the more southern countries of Asia and countries in Africa. The term Third World arose during the Cold War to define countries that remained aligned with either capitalism and NATO, or communism and the Soviet Union. This definition provided a way of broadly categorizing the nations of the earth into three groups based on social, political, and economic divisions. Nowadays, it is used to categorize the more poorer countries of the world. This is a percentage living on $1 per day per region, so this is a more general chart. As you can see, Middle East and North Africa are pretty low. Eastern Europe and Central Asia are too. Latin America is too. And thankfully the rest of the world is a little up. When countries have healthy economies, it means that they have money in motion. When countries don't have this, it means that the governments must invest a big part of their funds to help those in need. And this takes money away from an active economy, making it weaker. Poverty also affects the economy in that people do not have enough money to buy products produced by the same economy. All of this halts it, making it slower, less healthy, and weaker. This usually leads to the devaluation of the country's currency. Thank you.
So we've talked about poverty and stuff, and solutions. Well, in my country where I'm from, they have things called grants, which means that anyone who doesn't have a job receives money. But then the problem with that